Continuing with the 12-bar jazz blues progression in the key of G, I'd now like to show you a neat variation that combines walking bass, that constant motion, boom, 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 with the Freddie Green big band style flat 4 chord strumming that we looked at. And this is neat because you're changing a chord on every single beat. So that's 4 times per measure times 12 measures. You're playing 48 different chords over the course of 12 bars. But rest assured, it's not that daunting because you're basically just doing the same kind of walk-up thing off of each chord, and it's pretty cool. Here it is, check it out. So we have these 3-note shell voicings I showed you previously. G7, it's just the G root, F, the dominant 7th, and B, the major 3rd. And this is a muted string chord because I'm not actually playing any notes on the A string. This finger is intentionally muting the A string. So when I strum across the bottom 4, I get bass note and then nothing, which you don't even notice when you strum it. Remember we did that? That lazy kind of, just quarter notes with an occasional upstroke, what I call a hiccup, muted strings. And we're going to slide into that first chord, and then we're going to walk up G7, A minor 7, A bass note. Again, the 5th string is muted. And then barring across the D and G strings at the 5th fret. That's a 3-note voicing of A minor 7. And then this is a chromatic passing chord, A sharp diminished 7. And then that leads up to G over B, which is considered a first inversion triad. That's actually a G chord with the B, the 3rd, and the bass. So that first bar is. And then we do the same thing starting on the 4 chord, C. But now we're switching to a different string group. We have the 5th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. We got C7, D minor 7, D sharp diminished 7, C over E. And in this case, the D string, which I'm not using, is the one that's being muted with the back of the fretting fingers. So, and you'll see in the tablature those X's. That's just when I do a little upstroke. Okay, so the first 2 bars would be. We go back to G again, and then bar 4 we're going to do D minor 7. Again, these are all shell voicings, which consist of the root and then the 7th and the 3rd. That gives you a nice chromatic motion there. D minor 7, A flat 7, passing chord to G7, D flat 7, a passing chord going to C7. Actually, it's considered an approach chord, and these are the tritone substitutions we talked about. That's bar 5, and now in bar 6 we continue walking up. That's a variation on the progression, so it's going C7, and then F7, and then it goes back to G7. So let me take a step back here. From bar 5, it's. Then we're back in bar 7 to the original pattern again. Same thing, we walk up. Now we're doing it off of E7, the same kind of move. E7, F sharp minor 7, G diminished 7, E over G sharp, which is interesting because that's not really considered a jazz chord. That's like a classical thing, having a 3rd in the bass and having a pure triad. And then we come down the home stretch here in bar 9, A minor 7, B minor 7, C6, C sharp diminished 7. And now we're going to do a walk up from the 5 chord, from D7. Same kind of movement. You're starting on a dominant, and then you go to a minor 7, and then to a diminished 7, and then to your first chord in first inversion with the 3rd and the bass. And then here's our turnaround, bars 11 and 12. Then we repeat the whole progression. And then the second time, we're just going to go. Hit that nice, sexy G9 13 chord. So what's interesting is that if you just took the bass line by itself, you would get this. See, that's a nice walking bass line. So that has a certain logic to it, right? Those transition notes, those chromatic passing tones, those tritone substitutions. Creates a nice angular bass line. And now if you add just the top note of each chord, you get what are called 10th intervals. And this is kind of cool. I could just hybrid pick this. I go. Sounds kind of classical, right? And it's implying the harmony in the most economical way possible. You know, 10th intervals are basically thirds, or this, but you have an additional octave separating the notes. Now you could also just take the root and the 7th, and this sounds a little more out there, but there's a logic to it too. I'm just going to play the root and the 7th. Now another cool thing you could do is just leave out the root, leave out the bass note, but just play the chords, these super sparse shell voicings, which you have a tritone there. That F is the 7th of G, right? B is the 3rd with the bass note, but I'm going to leave out the bass note, so check this out. You still hear the progression, right? It's kind of neat to isolate the voicings and really analyze and see what's going on in there. And that provides a cool bed for another guitar player to solo over when you're just doing like a 2-guitar jam. As a little bonus, I'd like to show you the same basic thing now in the key of C, because C is a very common key and it's easy to think in, right? No sharps or flats. Well, I'm going to add sharps and flats with all these passing chords and diminished chords and stuff. But it offers you another set of chord voicings that you might find very useful. You know, I thoroughly suggest you take this and try to transpose it to many other keys. But here it is in the key of C. This is figure 2. So we're essentially doing the same thing, except now we're starting on C. Little slide in here. Same kind of walk up. 1, 2, sharp 2, then 1 chord in first inversion. C7, D minor 7, D sharp diminished 7 passing chord, C over E, and then we're going to drop back to here, to F7. Now we're doing the same kind of walk up off the 4 chord. F7, G minor 7, G sharp diminished 7. I love that voicing. And then F over A, keep finger like that, And then in bar 3, go back to C7 again. Now we're doing a 2-5 to the 4 chord. G minor 7, C7 to F. But you notice I threw in those little, you could look at those as chromatic approach chords or as tritone substitution. See, C7 and G flat 7 are tritone subs. And then we go do the F7 walk up again. Now we're going to go to B flat 7. And that's how full those bass notes sound on the bottom string, especially when you get up higher in the neck. And now we're going to do C7 here because it's more convenient. It's a back up at the end. And now off of A7, this is off the 6th chord in the key of C. See how that sets up the 2, the 2-5, D minor 7, G7. C13 like that, and this gives you another useful set of chord shapes. Again, you may want to try transposing this to the key of F and the key of B flat, because those are the 2 major horn keys in jazz. You know, B flat is to a tenor sax and trumpet player what C is to a guitar player, because when they read a C, it sounds like B flat, a whole step lower. And same thing, when they read a G, it sounds in F. So that's why a lot of these jazz tunes are in F and B flat and E flat. But guitar players, you know, like we like C and A minor, right? We like G and E minor. So it's good to get used to all those other keys and have fun with it.